You've certainly seen that as well before. Human Development Index. We've been hearing that for quite a bit. As far back as 2018, 7.2 million children, that's about 68.3% of children in Nigeria were attending early education programs, which cover creches, nurseries, and kindergartens, according to Statista, whatever that means. You know, when you hear children that age go into school, question you wonder, in fact, people have wondered, what are they learning?
ABC.
ABC.
1, 2, 3.
At age 6 months.
Well, I don't know about 6 months.
But you know, another troubling thing is that as of October 2022, almost 2 years after a number of things have happened, about 4 years after that one that you heard, about 20 million children are said to be out of school in Nigeria, according to UNICEF. This figure is a far-reaching increase from 10.5 million children recorded in 2020 by the same UNICEF. So this morning we want to talk around Human Development Index, but looking at the education dimension. I'm using that word dimension a lot, right? Because that's just the way it is. Well, two educationists join us this morning. Professor Abiola Awushika is an educationist of repute. Thank you so much for joining us this morning. And we also have an education technology expert, Dr. Adetola Salau, joining us this morning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, that's the cap she wants to wear this morning, even though, as you can see, she's also essay to the governor of Lagos State on education. But that's not the cap she wants to wear this morning. Thank you, ladies, for being here. Madam, first of all, let me begin by asking, when we talk about human capital development, from what you see and know over the years, do you think we in Nigeria are giving education a pride of place as an instrument of human capital development?
I want to say no, just outright, just say no. However, I think as we realize that education is key, we quickly pump money in that direction, and I'll tell you why. 2016, maybe somebody's thought, we have a crisis, and you know, it's just like a marketing department in any business. Once they have a crisis, they cut the marketing budget, which is supposed to actually propel them to, you know, prosperity, but they cut it. So they do the same thing for the education budget. Once we have a crisis, you know, 2015, 2016, there's a crisis, and in fact, it plummeted. It was not even funny. It plummeted in 2016. And then gradually it started coming up as people were hammering and saying, look at what you are doing. Education is not getting the attention that it's supposed to get. If we want economic development, we have to have certain percentages in our schools so that at the right time, they graduate and they go into the market and we put them in jobs, and then the economy grows, and then the same. But take tertiary education. Only 1% of us are in the pipeline, getting ready to move this country where? Nowhere. And we should have at least 10%. So
at any time.
At a time. And so we're not even close to that.
Dr. Salau.
Food for thought.
You won't even allow me to ask the question. Dr. Salau, hearing this, I mean, you've been in this space, and I know you are a STEM specialist sort of as well. Talking about policy, I have, let me not say studied, I have flipped through Nigeria's education policy, and I've said this countless times. I'm looking, I go only to the objectives, and I'm looking for something futuristic. I am looking for it. What does it say, okay, Nigeria is going to, where does it say Nigeria is going to be in education in the next 10 years, 15 years, 20 years? I don't see it. So perhaps that's where a number, I don't know if you have, something different to say on this.
I do.
So,
okay. Yes, I am wearing the hat of Lagos State today. So I'm going to talk about what we've been doing. And I will say that we have been working specifically in that area in targeting things that have to do with the future. A lot of the indices, the research, yes, I'm a researcher too. A lot of the research has shown that education, I mean, definitely we can all see it. This is not just research alone. Education has moved from just the certificates, students going to school, coming out with those diplomas, but actually having skills when they are working in the workplace. The employers are demanding that. The marketplace, to quote Prof, the marketplace is demanding that. So we've been shifting to pushing our programs that are around skills for the students. And also we're going to be launching, in fact, this week that is coming up, we're going to be launching and heralding our scheme of work that we've been doing here in the States. And in that scheme of work, one of the things that we've constantly dwelled upon over and over and over are core skills, of which there are 4 that you always hear people talk about a lot: communication, critical thinking, mention communication, okay, what's the other one? Collaboration. Who am I missing right here? Creativity. Yes, there are 4 of them. We always harp on them. And in the schemes of work, we have activities that are targeted in making sure that each topic, somehow one of those skills is embedded, and the teachers are encouraged to carry out that activity with the students. For example, let's say I'm a math teacher, so I always like to talk math. I'm teaching quadratic equations to senior secondary. That's what I used to teach. And one of the things I would love for my students to do is, nowadays when you're working in the workplace, you don't work by yourself, you work with other people. So I would like to embed the skill collaboration. I'll give them a project around quadratic equations. I tell people quadratic equations in the real world are mortgages, projectile motion, things around that. I will give them a project around that and have them work together, have them do research, have them think together. Of course, that's also critical thinking right there too. So harping and pushing on those skills are something that we've been doing and we continue to do. A lot of the programs...
challenge, my apologies.
Yes.
The challenge that Professor Awushika raised is that we only see, as a people, I'm not just talking about, I want you to speak as an expert in the field. I'm not just talking about what one government is doing, but I'm talking about the fact that, as she said, we only seem to react
that's an issue.
to these issues. We don't plan it. That's why I talked about the national policy on education. A state cannot, I don't know if it is possible, be too far from the national policy.
We have to follow the yardstick.
Exactly.
Yes.
So if there is nothing from my own naive perspective, something futuristic, is it any surprise then that parents who can afford to send their children out of Nigeria to school?
Okay. I get what you're saying and I get where you're coming from. Unfortunately, I can't speak about the national space. I can talk about what we are trying to do here.
Speak as an expert.
Yes, but as an expert, I have to say that, yes, it's something, even when I was in private space and even where I am now, I mean, of course, I don't talk about it, but I talk about, okay, we're working. It's something that really disturbs me. And it's something that we need to do a lot more work on. Particularly, yes, because that's my own field, particularly in STEM. Because I think all the research that I've done shows that if you don't start planning 5, 10 years now, and then project that next generation, which is 15 years, then 30 years, that's 2. If you don't start putting in all that foundational work now, you're not going to see anything then. And the people who are going to be the workers, the people who are going to actually help us to create all these developments, they won't exist, which means we'll have to continue to be, which I absolutely am not happy about, importing people to come and do this work for us, which means our GDP is not cycling among us here. It will keep on going out. Yes, in my other life, I was also an engineer. So I also saw this firsthand. As an engineer, I did. Constantly having to go and bring in labor, quote unquote, expert labor from outside. And I think to myself, all that taxation lost to us, because that money is going to quote-unquote experts, what do we call them, expatriates outside that come and do the work. As somebody who is now trying to generate revenue in the state as a policymaker, I'm like, look at all that money that went out, money that should stay here. Other nations, they try their best to make sure that the money cycles in the nation. So yes, it's something that we need to start doing deliberate work on. So we need more people making noise because, like she said, unfortunately, we have a fire brigade approach. And the fire brigade approach is if we don't make noise, if things don't start, ring that bell, everybody becomes complacent and nothing gets done. So.
Now, Professor, every time that there's statistics about education, we hear that the number of children out of school is bulging. I think the figure right now is approximately 20 million children out of school.
Yeah.
What do you think is responsible? This is the 21st century. When we went to school, okay, it was not normal. It was not the in thing to educate the girl child. But things have since changed. I am 70 years old.
You are?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow, you don't look it.
You don't look it, right?
Wow, you have great skin.
First of all, we have to look at where most of those kids are.
Yes.
On the streets.
She means location.
Trading.
Geographical location.
Yeah.
Oh,
yes.
Geographical. Okay.
Yes. And I won't castigate them. I won't blame them. This is why. They believe that when you give your child Arabic education, it is education.
Yes.
So who are you to say they're wrong?
Or that they are not educated.
That they're not educated. So, however, with new governments being in place, the El Rufais of this world, and, they're seeing things differently. And I had the opportunity to work with a major university in the north. And believe me, a time will come when the South will have to run. Because the people that I encounter over there, their mastery, their control of their areas is mind-boggling. So for it to trickle down to those on the streets, it will take policies like Governor El Rufai is putting in place to, gather them and put them in regular school, because Arabic school is not enough. So I think we have to tackle it regionally, because in the Southwest there's just a few, the Southeast, and but the North, we need to bring our brothers and sisters to the same level and not hold us back.
But what will that take? Because what is instructive in what you have said now is, whether we like it or not, we must have elected officials from the 109 senatorial districts, including these areas that you're talking about. So if education is not at par and they have to deliberate on policies and stuff that will become laws, unless they sit down together and agree that, look, based on my level of education and on your level of education, this is the trajectory we should be going. If they don't agree, we're not going to have.
Yeah, but I think we're seeing that now.
Okay.
We're seeing Borno State. We're seeing, Sokoto State. We're seeing Kaduna. They're building, first-class schools, and making sure that education, English education, not Arabic, is available, to their people. So it's not going to happen overnight. We can't get 20 million students to go to school. And also the economic problems that we're having right now is not helping. You know, because they need those children to be out there, to be bringing in some money for the families to feed. So we're not going to be able to, you know, just outrightly, you know, carry them all, bundle them and say you're off the streets, you're not begging anymore, and so this is your life. We're not going to get that. But we have to keep an eye on it. That this year we have 20 million. Next year, factoring in increases in population, you know, this is, you know, where we are. And then next year, this is where we are. If we don't, I mean, what you don't, I think they say, you know, what you don't watch doesn't change or something like that. So we have to watch it. I'm not sure who is watching it for Nigeria. We just keep hearing it's 10 million out of school, and then it's 13 million out of school, and then it's 20 million out of school.
Whether we like it or not.
Who's watching it?
UNICEF is always watching.
Yeah, well, UNICEF is not going to
keeps the
do it for
figures
us.
too.
Unfortunately. Now, Dr. Silao, a major catalyst to education today is technology.
Yes.
You need to be educated enough to use the technology to be educated with technology.
I don't know. I don't know if I totally agree with that.
If you don't know how to use the phone.
If you don't know how to use it,
if you don't know how to use it, yeah, if you don't know how to use it. Because I was going to say, even people who are quote-unquote illiterate, they know how to use their phones, which is another story. And I wanted to also add to what she said. A lot of the issues we have around our out-of-school students, we need to start redefining what school is and what education is. I really believe we're going to have to get to that place where we're going to have to change how we educate our students. It is not always going to be in the four walls of a classroom.
True.
That's something that really needs to start shifting. That we have to look at novel approaches to being able to reach and educate these students. And I'm happy that you brought up tech, because that's one of the things I was going to talk about next. That how do we start harnessing the power of technology to reach to these students? Well, they're not students right now, children, to these children. There's a lot that can be done. And also, we too also have to shift our mindset about what education means. We have this whole approach in education, the formal approach where you go to school, you go through that primary school, secondary school, tertiary. It has to change. There's informal.
The same formula.
Yes,
no.
There's informal education. That education that exists when you're not in the classroom.
Apprenticeship.
Apprenticeship. When you're
COVID brought that to the fore.
Yes, when you're talking to your peers, when you're working with your parents, when you're working with people who you respect. There's education in so many ways, so many formats. Let us start seeing how do we harness that? How do we utilize that to reach these students? Like she said, you'll be amazed when you listen to these children. Give you an example. I have a ward that lives with me. And just the other day, because you know I'm very passionate about STEM, so I have a lot of STEM kits at home. And I also have a lot of drone kits, because I've been doing this over the years. I've amassed quite a number whenever I have programs for students, children, during the long vacation. And he said, can I get that? I want to work with it. And he brought it out. And this is somebody who struggles with literacy. That's why I made sure I harped on that. The fact that it's not always about reading complete all the time. Hey, can you even use it? So he brought out one of those kits. I have this one that has to do with aeronautical engineering, putting together pieces, fashioning planes. I think one of them was one of that flying objects. And he gives them step-by-step pictorial. You know, this is how you do it. You put this piece here, you put this piece. This young man, in fact, I'm angry at myself. I should have recorded him.
Well, too late for that.
No, tonight, I'll make sure. I'll say, could you come and do this again? So he started putting it together. And I was sitting here typing out my emails, and I'm looking at him from the corner of my eye, and I'm like, wow, he's just putting in these pieces, and he's putting them in correctly. And then, every now and then, and I have pictures on my other phone, he would show me, look, I've done this. And I said, that's the power of when you actually get it and you own it. That agency, that, yes, I've done it. So I said, please, we need to take pictures. So that's why I gave him my phone. We need to take pictures of all these things you've done. And that reminded me that we should stop always looking at education as this straight linear process.
Which
It is
goes
not
back to the issue of policy.
Yes.
That we talked about the other
yeah,
time.
So which is that's why I say all of
my
us.
My apologies. For instance, the national policy on education, I couldn't find technology in it. National policy on technology doesn't, I don't know if it acknowledges apprenticeship. I don't know if it acknowledges. So I'm looking for something that is futuristic, that in another 10 years from now, the average secondary school SS3 students should be able to couple a television together, for instance. These are the days of drones, of cameras, of these little things. So
these phones.
I'm wondering, how do we bring in technology to the national consciousness first and then drill it down to the states?
So I think the biggest thing is, let's continue to make noise. Let's hold everybody who is there accountable that these are the things you need to do. Simple. There's no two ways about it. Like I said, I had my defense this week. My professors held me accountable. I had a dissertation to present to them. But you know what they focused on? You're a policy maker now. You're one of the people who makes decisions for these teachers. You're one of the people who makes decisions for these students. Stop. Let's stop all these theoretical talk that we're talking right now. Let's talk about what are you going to do? Policy, now that you're there. You have access, you have ability. What are you going? All those three professors all held me accountable. We want you to do this. We want you to start thinking about this. And I thought about this. I said, you know what? This is fantastic. We could have gone through the whole dry theory of, okay, yeah, you did this in your paper, blah. No, they didn't allow me to stop there. None of them allowed me to stop there. This is what we want you to go back and do. So we need to start holding ourselves accountable. We need to have people who are going to shout and say, this is what we expect you to do. We need to start putting people in the right places too. That's another thing too. I know subtext, that's where you're getting to, and I'm also getting there too. That we need to have the right people who are in the right places. No, but that's so important. We need to have those right people. The older I get, the more I see how important it is. The right people there who can do this right work. So it's important.
Yeah, talking about the national policy, it takes time.
That's the question I was going to ask you anyway.
Yeah, it takes time to write, and then we live it for a few years, and then we know there's change, then there's a need to change, and to gather ourselves again, and then write a new one. But what is going on is this. There's a revolution that even industry is causing to happen. I was reading some time ago, in fact 2 days ago, what industry is actually looking for in people that they hire. And we realized that they're not even looking for university education anymore. It's, you know, what kind of thing can you do? Project management,
technical skills,
certifications,
skills, yes,
very quickly, get in, get it, know what you're doing, and get out. There is, you know, AI already, artificial intelligence. There's virtual reality, and there is robotics,
data science,
all of those.
Data science,
absolutely.
Don't worry, it's my area.
And big data, there's everything happening in technology that we haven't had the presence of mind to sit down. And maybe we cannot.
Yes.
Maybe we cannot.
Let's take one, man, that we already have, we have done, and we seem to have abandoned. We had gradations of tertiary education. We had technical education, we had polytechnics, and then we have the academics. Madam, how far so far with all those? Because it would seem like, okay, now everyone wants a BA or a BSc or whatever it is.
It's no longer possible.
But now that is the only
but
thing.
There are no more technical schools.
Well, technical, and I think Dr. Salah was going to talk about what they were doing. Yes. I'll take one thing that they were doing, and which helps technical education. Recent developments in Lagos State, where they have a new
comprehensive schools.
A comprehensive
schools. I don't know where I'll talk to you about that.
So the comprehensive schools.
You have to pay. Please go ahead.
So the comprehensive schools are put in place to do just what we're talking about technical education. We've come to a realization that university education is not it.
No.
We have come to that realization.
Yes, sir. I mean, if anybody, no, I'm not talking about the government.
Okay.
I'm not talking about because I mean, I belong to a lot of
She belongs to a lot of groups
that are talking about these things. And what we have decided is, forget the government.
It's time to advise government.
Yeah, well, we advise
they
them.
form the policy.
They don't listen. So we're thinking, let's go out there, let's do it, let them see what we're talking about. Maybe then they will listen. So it's like lead by example, leading from below for the government by example. If you don't do that, it's not going to happen for Nigeria.
Prof, that's a problem for me. Here is why. If government, it's like we're saying that the knee should take the lead. You know, that's the way it sounds. And I do understand what you're saying, but there are those who are in technical, schools today, who are in polytechnics today, who feel like they don't belong, who feel like generally, mentally,
you know why?
It's out of place.
You know why? Because we have elevated the university education higher than the polytechnic and the trades.
You mean they? Because I didn't do it.
Okay, well, in fact, when I tell people, I went the technical route. I didn't go to university. I went the technical route. I went to Yaba College of Technology. And I traveled overseas, and I went to Northern Holloway. It was a polytechnic. Then it became a university. So I got my HNC there. And I did some,
What is HNC?
Higher National Certificate instead of Higher National Diploma.
Okay.
And then it's with that HNC that I entered my university for my MBA. And it's similar to what Finland does. You could go this route, which is university. You could go technical. You go up, and then you meet again at the top.
Wasn't that the design for the 6-3-4 system?
That's it. But you see, when you come out with an HND, you're on level 7.
Yeah.
The university graduate is on level 8. Who's going to want that? Nobody. So until we put our money where our mouth is, we recognize these degrees for what they really are, which is it's whether you go to university or you go to technical school, is, in the end, we're supposed to be the same.
I thought things had harmonized once HNDs began to serve on the youth service as well.
No, because it's still, you see, the compensation is where it is. If you don't, yes, I serve at youth service, and then, we go to get our pay, and then I'm seeing, mine is one level, worse than yours. I wouldn't be encouraged.
I think it's a bigger problem than that, Ma. I'm sorry, Ma, to interject. The bigger problem is, whether we like it or not, there is a big disconnect between the way we look at blue-collar work and white-collar work. I'm sorry, I'm just going to call it out. And the universities, the academic universities, are geared towards white-collar work, whereas these technical colleges are geared towards blue-collar work, for the most part. And there's just this looking down upon, people who are working with their hands, the artisans, plumbers, the construction workers.
That's where the money is at now.
I'm coming to that. Whereas the irony is that a plumber, not even just, in the United States, they'll kill you. The money they'll charge you.
Per hour.
Even here, I talk to these artisans all the time. I used to cross the border to go to Cotonou, to Benin Republic. They cross here because they're making so much money here in Nigeria doing work. By the time they sit down and calculate to you how much money they make when they go to these different sites and work, you'll be amazed. You ask yourself, you that you're sitting down, entering that bus or Uber, whatever, going to the office, and they that are quickly doing that work and coming out, the amount of money the amount of money they come out with. I know someone personally that bought 10 plots, an artisan, 10 plots of land. So one of the things I try to harp on to our students over and over now is, guys, There's no crime in saying you're not going to university.
No.
The most important thing in this life, above all else, is that you are successful, economically viable adults, which means you have a roof over your head, you can eat. If you have young ones around you, you're responsible for them and you can take care of them.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
Okay. Now, that's what government, that's what the people can do for themselves. Now to government. Prof was talking about policies and all those things. They speak to us. Okay, now you can talk about the Lagos example. If you talk about it too much, you'll pay.
Okay.
Talk about the Lagos example, the gradation of, you know, because at the end of the day...
In a minute and a half.
No, I can do it. Oh, trust me.
At the end of the day, it's about human capital development.
Which is where I'm going. All right, so what we planned and what we've been doing in 12 schools right now is there's track A, where you're still learning your regular academic stuff. There's track B, while you're in school, you're learning these immediate skills: beauty, fashion, agri, construction, digital literacy, entertainment, these different skills. Right there in school, you're being taught with this equipment. Experts are coming to work with you. Opportunities for internship, because that's one really, really big part of the equation that's missing sometimes. Opportunities for internship, where you go and you're having hands-on experience.
Yes.
It was developed after the Finnish model. We actually have a partnership with Finland right now. So we have it in 12 schools right now across the state. We're going to be expanding.
Prof is grinning from ear to ear.
Oh, this is Prof stuff. She loves it. So we're going to be expanding to 50 schools. Eventually, it will be 100 schools. And eventually, the ultimate aim is, just like we said, everybody's seeing that the children love this. It's very useful for the children. It begins to, you know, trickle down. I don't like that word, trickle down. Stream, yes, you go. Stream into all these schools, and every parent, all these schools say, you know what, I want a part of this. And I tell people my story. When I was in school, my mother did not say, because you're in school, all you're doing is learning biology, chemistry. My mother was trying to push me to go and sew. And that's one of my greatest regrets till this date, that I did not follow through in going to go and learn to sew like my mother wanted me to. She also made sure that I went to go and learn how to type. That's why I'm very fast on the computer now. Like I can do multiple things. And I was able to write my thesis real fast. I can bam, 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 I'm typing. People are like, oh my God, was that typing. And then when I finished school, she said, okay, I want you to go do this, do this. She would never just let you, oh, I learned this in school. Oh, I'm waiting for WAEC. No, no, no. Okay, they are going to go and learn this. You're going to do it. I used to even work on my mom's sites with the workers, the construction workers. Yes, no, I'm very proud of that now. I'm very proud. Everywhere I go, I'm very proud. It made me appreciate what we're doing in engineering even more. So I'm happy that I had all those experiences. And I always encourage our youth to do that. I go to church, I encourage them, I tell them this is something you should do. You shouldn't just rest on, yeah, I'm waiting for WAEC, I'm about to enter university.
Yes.
Gain things you can do immediately, things you can use to make money, and you never know when you can come back to them. Personal experience, my cousin, when we were in the US, while she was in school, she was doing folks' hair. And also setting wigs too, setting them up. And she was making money, being able to fuel her car, being able to take care of a lot of things when she was in the States. Those are skills that are handy.
One of my closest friends was a medical doctor. She also sewed because her mother used to sew. She learned sewing from her mother, and she confessed to me that she made more money from sewing than from being a medical doctor.
I actually combined the two. I could type and I could sew. And when I was in the US, you know, as a student, I would type $1 a page. That was in 80.
See that? That's massive money. That's it.
Now, we have two mentors here who would give you not just
if you need their numbers for them to mentor you, get in touch with us.
Not only for education, but also some life skills, because ultimately that's what it's about. But the issues are right there in our faces, that the human development or human capital index in Nigeria needs to get better over time so that we can achieve the kind of national development that we all want. For now, we have to thank you for being here, Professor Abiola Awushika, an educationist. Thank you so much for being here, for your perspectives.
Thank you so much.
And Dr. Adetola Salau, wearing 3 caps. Thank you so much, and congratulations on your doctorate.
Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that's our conversation.
Very interesting conversation, I must add.
Yes, I mean, now you know there's a second one that's interesting. We're back after now to take on something similar to education, but a different angle. We'll be back after now.